Let's see. Let's see what I can do. It's fuzzy, but it'll do. Oh, photo sticks. I left my glasses over there. I hate not to is that a mirror image? My hair's a mess. Okay, so let me get through the hair talk. I'm now trying to get it creasy so I can get some type of natural dread thing going, and there's a method to my madness, don't ask. He decides to do that every time as soon as the video starts. Oh yes, that's what I wanted to show you. Every video to lead in, I talk about random things until people see the notification or if they would arrive. And every video I try to physically show you something that I'm using myself that is not sponsored. I don't leave links or anything. I just tell you about it, or I show it physically, and then you can go check it out yourself. So this is can you see it? Oh, there we go. My hands are a mess right now, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. It's a wooden comb. It's supposed to be really good for frequency because your hair is your antenna, and when you have stress or a lot of stress, that will show in your hair, obviously, which is why mine needs so much extra attention sometimes. What are you doing? And plastic is not natural, so it can leave you with a weird feeling physically and emotionally or mentally. It can leave you feeling sick. And all my disclaimers are in the description box. But just so you guys know, I'm not a doctor. No part of this is medical advice. Always seek the guidance of your chosen professional. But in this time, I'm going to cover a couple of things. And I also want to... Sammy. I love you too. Okay. I'm doing a video, Sam. Sam. Y'all make your own channel if you're a good boy. Sammy. Okay. Oh. Dog breath. You just had peanut butter. Go sit down. Go sit. Sit. Lay down. I'm so sorry. Again, I'm not a posh YouTuber. I'm not a celebrity. I don't have sponsors or endorsements. The channel is not monetized, and I very rarely get donations. So just so you're aware. Lay down. Lay down with your Chewy. Go on. Lay down. Be a good boy. Okay. So I would recommend in this time finding you something like this. Lay down. And I am chilling where I'm comfortable today, and I'm going to get into that if my bully here would calm down. Lay down. Lay down. Lay down. Oh my goodness, you two. Lay down. They're usually very good while I do videos, but I'm in their spot. I'm on the bed, and they don't like that, I don't think. There you go. Lay down. Lay down. Right there. You lay down. Come on. Okay. Here we go. I'm sorry. So, to get to the title, I'm going to do the vlog part first, and then I am going to share the screen with you guys. I think it'll let me after the fact. Yes, and I'm going to pull something up, so give me a second to pull this up. Now, I've mentioned this before, but I've been mentioning it again in a different way. So we're going to go over it again. So that's what we're going to go over, is the Trojan horse strategy in warfare. Okay. So I lost my job. You guys know that. In the past 2 years or year and a half, I've now lost 2 dogs and 2 jobs, which is very rare for me. That was usually not the case. Usually in my life, it has been the opposite. Now, I don't know if it's something that they do in this area, because years ago, my youngest son had told me his friend down the road had went to a church, and they had told his mother that he was the AC. Then this mother mysteriously passed away of the big C. A lot of mothers around here pass away of the big C, or spouses in general. And it's oftentimes a spouse who just so happens to be on disability or SSI. So I wanted to be sure that I mentioned that. I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted with my dog roaming around here. Lay down. Lay down. Lay down. Right there where you're at. Lay down. So, sorry about that. So that's rare for me to like lose 2 jobs and then 2 dogs. I'd never lost a dog before. Now, why am I telling you my testimony? Like, why should I tell people on the internet my story? Why should I blubber, as he says, or cry on the internet? Everybody makes fun of people who do that. Number one, if the effect is real, and we've talked about this a lot about how trends seem to catch up, and there are patterns and ripple effects, and things that happen in my family seem to ripple out pretty big. So, first thing is for nostalgia. YouTube was a lot, how do I say this, more effective. The internet was a lot more effective, and YouTube as a platform was a lot more effective when it was just everyday people speaking from the heart, from their front seats, or from their bedrooms, or their living rooms, or their kitchens, wherever they happen to be. So that's number one. The second thing is, and I do quote a lot of scripture, but I don't say I'm quoting scripture. I don't tell you where it's at. That's my way of planting seeds, okay? But everyone is welcome here, literally everyone, because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Now, I'm going to get into a couple of things here, and that's why this is acting as a disclaimer. I'm going to talk about a couple of groups, but I don't mean to make blanket statements. I'm just meaning my experience with this particular group or that particular group has been supremely negative, okay? So I like to give disclaimers at the beginnings of my videos. And I know this is a bad time for a Saturday, but I'm going to keep going because who knows how it will turn out or if anyone will see it. And I pray that God, sends this message out to as many people who it will help and encourage. And I will try not to cry on the internet. So, it is said, oh, how can the whole town be against you, and things like this of that nature. Well, number one, my husband's family has somebody who works in every area of the local government, somebody who works for the welfare system, somebody who is in crypto, somebody who works in land titles and is in and out of the courthouse all day long. Like, everybody is in a place, so to speak, a position of advantage, an advantageous position. Okay, that's the first thing. So it's not too far a stretch to say that because of what happened in our relationship, because things went bad, that the people who know him, grew up with him and his family, would obviously want me to leave, encourage me to leave, want me to not have anything, yada, yada, yada. At the first job, there were 2 people that he used to work with at Toys R Us. I was unaware of this. I thought it was just one. The one was my boss. She hired me. Not even when she interviewed me did she look me in the eye, ever. It's like a problem this woman has. She rarely spoke to me, and I even waited on her at the pizza shop about a month ago, and she was in the drive-thru, and I will tell you, I've never seen so much talent in my life. The woman gave me her name, her money, and took the pizza without looking at me ever. The next thing I'll say is this common link. It was brought back to my awareness that pizza used to be linked with something. There have been whispers about that in this area. That's another reason they don't like me, is in 2017, I made a post about the man who started the Boys and Girls Club of America. When I did that, people who I knew who were gay pounced on me. And I was shocked because these were people that I'd known for years that I was cool with. I was shocked that they would be okay with deceivers being in their group and harming children. So that was like the first thing that kind of happened, that I was like, oh, wow, these people weren't who I thought they were. So when it comes to like me losing my job and rumors starting behind me, there's a motivation for this. There is a logical reason that certain people would do this. And it's also not a coincidence, I wouldn't assume, that the police Wi-Fi, when you go in to pay your water bill, hooks up to their Wi-Fi and it says Sex Toys R Us. I can't make this crap up. So again, I know this, I'm speaking about all this. It's not a far stretch to say these people have it in for me. So after I lost my job, well, I want to say now, I want to relate this to something current, and I'm going to look it up real quick because I'm kind of winging some of this, and forgive me if I'm not looking at the camera or whatever. I'm going to Google this, and I want to say that I've never liked this guy. He does not have the Holy Spirit at all. And to do something like this to other people in the body of Christ is redonkulous. Now, I'm going to pull something up, so just give me a second. I'm not going to play the video because I don't want to get stuck with copyright or whatever. Now, this guy is a Baptist priest or a pastor. His last name is Anderson, Stephen Anderson. Several years ago, he came into prominence around 2012 when my spouse was big watching YouTube. And I found it strange that he was watching on these religious channels, but I was like, oh, wow, he's getting curious. That's good, right? But he was watching this Baptist, and again, growing up Catholic, people can say whatever they want about the church, of course, but unless you're inside of something, you really shouldn't speak from a certain place. And I know what you think. I know you think we're all child harmers, and that could not be further from the truth. That is why these people hate me around here, is because I've spoken out against that in certain ways. And and again, his family and my sister, like they've always wanted accusing someone of child harming is satanic. And I'm going to tell you why, because Satan is the accuser. So if it is not legitimate, it is satanic by nature. Because they're accusing mainly the flock, children of God, especially. So it is supremely satanic. The next thing it is I think that in a lot of cases it is a deception, and I'll get into that in a later video. But this guy did a video and he mocked Catholics, and he ran around in Catholic garb, like a bishop, in his service, in front of children and his whole service, and mocked like holy water, and had the fake hat on, a paper hat, and the robe and everything. The people who wanted rid of me, a couple of them were Baptists, or at least they said they were Baptists, and a couple of them go to the mega church, so they had big bucks and their parents owned businesses, and the one was in 4-H club. I've told you time and time again that real persecution comes from within the church, that the deceivers are already in there, that they planned it this way a very long time ago. And a lot of them know it, some of them don't. Some they call useful idiots. And again, this is not my speaking. I'm telling you how they're perceiving all of this. So he did this. He does not have the Holy Spirit. I'm trying to find an image of it and I can't find it. So I'm just going to leave that up to you if you want to look into it. It's really gross. And I honestly just don't know what to say anymore. I don't want to go around people. And I was just talking about how a lot of these people have that same video out right now. Like, I'm older and I don't go around people anymore, and how that's an agenda. Like, they don't want us talking. They especially don't want older people and boomers and Gen Xers like out there and making money. And if you are, then you have to be down with this agenda, and you have to be down with the children telling you what to do. And I'm going to talk more about proxies too in this video, but I'm wanting this to not be super long. So my dog died, and that was really bad. Anyone who's watched my testimony understands that I don't throw anybody under the bus. I don't give names, and I don't show their faces. I try not to. In certain cases, I'm going to have to, because of the parallels and the associations to Rome and Roman culture. All roads lead to Rome. I might be in shock a little bit. I don't know. So I'm going to tell you about that. only because of the suffering angle and how sometimes that can help people. So it was rough. He hung out with my son and his friends a lot when things were going better for him and he was working out and they were working out, but he was very secretive. They were very rowdy. They were acting like, Vikings, young Vikings. And I told you that these boys I raised, they were, oh, your mom's a MILF, this, that, and the other. And then in this house a few years ago, a few of them violated me in my home and I believe drugged my drink. Things like that have happened a lot. And it's not aliens, it's these ancient spirits who were cursed to walk the earth forever. They want to eat, drink, and be merry again, pretty much. And they use us as sock puppets to do that. So I don't blame the people. But so what happened with Jack is that he was just old and he started to get cancer bumps. Or what I assume, whatever, makes it hard to walk and he's old. And then I noticed like it looked like his jaw was broken. And I had caught our neighbor here like almost go to kick him away, but I saw our son be like, no, 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 don't do that. The fact that he knew to tell him not to act that way in front of me, like, what are you doing when I'm not around? Because his decline was really quick. And I noticed because we had to start carrying him from place to place and turning him, I noticed that he had like hips broken or a broken leg and he looked like that rabbit they had brought me a couple years ago, and I talked about that too. I don't know if it was to see how I'd react or if I could heal the thing or if it would make me cry. I don't know if it was a loosh thing to get the energy. I don't know. They seem to enjoy just making me sad. So we're turning him and he's on pads, but he's still kind of like, he doesn't have, I don't do vets unless like they're sick, and his dad used to own a kennel. So when we did have dogs, like he would do stuff for him. And until COVID, we were taking him to get groomed and all that stuff. And then COVID happened and everybody was closed. And so I had to start grooming him. So I'm doing that. And then he just started getting like sick, him and Axel both. And then the dead birds with the eyes, we've had that around here too. And a lot of people, a high rate of the big C around here. It definitely is a cluster area for that. But he declined so quick, and I don't have a car. Now I don't have a job. I'm on a fixed income. I literally have no money to do anything with this poor guy. So I'm crushing up aspirin and giving him that. And I don't know if he got a bed sore or what happened, but something one morning I woke up and he had something on the side of his face and it just ended up being like this hole. And this is in the matter of like a week, all of this happened. But it was probably the longest week of my life. And I thought he was dead. I had watched him stop breathing, and then I had actually had time to say a prayer, walk to the window because I saw the motion detector light go on. It was weird. And then he started breathing again, and I'm like, at this point, I'm like freaking out. I'm ugly crying. Like, I don't know what to do. Why am I telling you this? So you don't take for granted what you have. So you take care of those you love while they're here. So you observe and you don't lie to yourself about who your children are, who your family is. We shouldn't be allowing our children to go out there and do harm. I literally didn't know what kind of family. I was at work all the time, but my kids had really good hearts. Like, this is not, these behaviors since the first eclipse are not what I would call that. Like, they're just not who I knew as them. They don't even smell the same. I don't know. So here's the thing. They also stole my trash like last week. So my trash went missing. I go out to like bring the bins back inside and I'm like, did you do something with our trash? I come in and he's like, no. I'm like, you didn't? No. I'm like, well, it's gone. And it's not like in the road or anything. So our trash is just gone. Let me make something very clear here. If you're staying away from sin and they can't persecute you legally through the law, apparently they're going to do whatever they can. What they're doing, and let me put you on notice because I know you watch the channel, that's against natural law, and you're not allowed to be doing things like that. Let's just say, oh, I don't know, somebody collected a DNA sample out of somebody's trash that they stole. What's really gross is I was on my cycle at that. Hold, please. I'm going to pause this. Little girl. Little girl. Okay, sorry about that. Anyone who watches the replay can at least just like skim through it and it won't bother them, I hope. Sit down. Sit down. No. No. Dude, you can't sit on my lap. I have stuff in front. Sam. He's mad at me. Okay, so they stole my trash. It really sounded like somebody was out there. I put something in front of one of the doors on purpose. Just to hear. But anyways, sit. Sit. That's enough. You're being a goober. Please stop. Stop. Wow, this is going off the rails, isn't it? This is lovely. It sounded like there was somebody out there, and this is just what they do. And of course, I live in a duplex, always. Always. And it's a whole house. There's just like this thing plopped in the back. I hate my life. My life has turned into something I don't even recognize anymore, but we defeat our enemy through the blood of the Lamb that covers us and through the word of our testimony. By speaking about these things, I'm taking away the mystery and the quote unquote power behind them. I'm already protected, but by speaking and exposing evil without necessarily names or faces, you're kind of taking your power back, right? It's like chess. Think of it as chess, which will be a good segue to the next part of this video. But yes, they stole my trash. So, and it was ironically, and only someone inside the house would know this, but ironically, it was the time of my cycle. Now, let me be clear. Somebody tried to encourage me to take a DNA test not too long ago, and I declined. I will always decline. So let's say somebody would steal your trash just to get a DNA sample because they want to frame you for a crime or something like that. Number one, that's morally wrong. Number two, is ethically wrong. Like all these cop shows that show that stuff happening, I'm pretty sure that's not even admissible in court. You're not allowed. There is no standard for that. The reason that they allow certain things like that in on TV to show you that is to excuse the cameras that have always been there, the CCTV that have been there since we were kids, since I was born, since some of you were born. I've been trying to explain this. They've been here the whole time. So that's why I speak about some of these things. But so if they stole my trash to do something like that against my consent and my knowledge and my awareness, or to do some hoodoo, voodoo, or what have you, because I know that Santeria uses that type of moon cycle blood for certain things. Okay, be clear about that. Now, all this makes sense as well. It also makes sense that I would face this type of torment and harassment if indeed I do know the legit Antichrist, and if I am correct about some of these things, and if I am a Trojan horse myself. Because we're going to talk about the Trojan horse that we're seeing on TV. But it also, again, it plays out in my life. So again, we're using that example of the butterfly effect and the parallel. And it also, I don't want to be insulting. I feel like people are so easily led today by what they see on TV. Nobody even thinks to ask the question, is that the truth? Like they just jump on like either accusing this person or taking sides type thing. They never test the spirit. Like if somebody gives you a theory, test it, through science. True science is repeatable and observable. Even if you can't actually see the wind, you know it's there because the leaves rustle, right? And you can imitate that. You can copy it, right? I don't want to be insulting, but some of these things that I just feel like I hung out with my dad and my uncle a lot as a child, and we went to like Civil War reenactments and Gettysburg and all these different places in Pennsylvania. And they probably thought I didn't listen either, my poor dad. But I did all the time. I just wanted to like be good enough that he would keep me with him all the time because my mom had changed so much. Again, we get into like these there's two of everybody thing. Like there's the good, the white wolf and the dark wolf. Because when she went away, she came back totally different. She was gone for maybe a year and a half. And that's why I also encourage people, stay with your families. Like, is girls' night really that important? Are these getaways and vacations really that important to people? We are losing so much more than people realize. The chat is on. It looks like it just bounced. I don't know why it would do that, but it is on, just so you know. So yeah, they stole my trash. And if it was for something like that, I'm just putting it out there that I never consented to a DNA test or anything like that. I don't seek to harm anyone else, and I don't feel like harming myself. Though my life is pretty, things are looking grim right now. And I'm sure he is very pleased with himself about that. But they, on the personal note, and I'm looking at notes here because I did write a couple little small notes. Because I'm just scattered in heart and brain right now. I might actually be a little in shock. And I've regressed quite a bit. I'm not eating animals, and I'm chaste. And I started before this Trump thing. Like, I don't even have TikTok. For me, it's a spiritual thing. As you can see, well, you can't see. I'm on my bed, which is on the floor. I sleep on the floor. I didn't know, but it's a monk thing. I did it to punish myself. I don't even want to say punish myself. I did it too, like as a form of discipline, I guess. Telling you about my dog and about the suffering that I've went through. No, I've not seen war. No, I haven't lost any limbs. but I've lost what was most important to me in this world, and even almost beyond this world, because I lost a really close relationship that I had with both of my children. And they knew that. There's no shame in keeping things to yourself and having things private and sacred and secret. People knew that I felt that way about my children. I specifically told someone who played a big part in my downfall, my fall from grace. I specifically told her that my children were my best friends, because I think she was trying to see who I talked to, who I told my secrets to. It's probably why she bought my first laptop, and even though I reset it, they probably got lost. That's how they got all my passwords and everything. Like, it's not magic, right? Like, I know they didn't use magic for a lot of this, but there are other things that cannot be explained, like them smelling different, like them eating different, like them not remembering certain things that they should remember. Any mother will know if your child or your husband does not smell the same, if their scent, their smell changes, like that's that we're reaching into the borders of like fringe woo there. Like it's bizarre, right? And that's why I try to approach all this with logic first, and then we go to like the supernatural. So what we're seeing here also is on a bigger scale is a Game of Thrones. I guess was being groomed to be the wife of the AC or the mother, grandmother. I don't. This is so bizarre. Because you see, Christ is copying everything God did. Or not Christ, I'm sorry. Satan is copying everything that God did with Christ, okay? So this being is going to be man, hybrid, angel part, right? Father and son all in one. So it's going to be probably the Father's spirit and the body of the Son, and it's going to be a hybrid body, which is what they're showing me symbolically. Now you're going to say, how are they showing you that? Okay, well, my son and his girlfriend have the yin yang. That was mine and my husband's symbol. Well, that's no big deal. Okay. Then she put the blonde streaks in her hair like I always did mine, the brown with the blonde streaks. That's not a big deal. Then he gave her the chocolate diamond, which was what I had always like wanted, but of course never got, because he never worked with me. I was always the one working. I called him Bear when we first met. See, there's somebody out there. Or it's my dryer. I called him Bear when we first met, and she sent me a picture. Remember, they work in symbols, right? It's what they show you, not what their lips say. Because their lips, they're all about breaking every single one of God's rules. So if they're with someone, they're not going to be married, right? They're going to lie. They're going to deceive. They're going to steal. They're going to break every one of those rules. Some of them. They're not all like that. Again, the ancient spirits of like the ancient Babylonians, the ancient Romans, and the Vikings, like that's what we're dealing with. And I know it sounds wild, but if you look at it all, when COVID started, they had that Egyptian like parade, like ritual where they move the sarcophagus. I've never seen anything like that happen. They don't relocate the burial tombs, and like that doesn't happen. And you saw this reemergence with the ginger hairs and the Vikings everywhere, and this interest in the marine spirit with Aquaman. So they are heavily influencing our current society, and that is how it is like the days of Noah. So you don't have to believe my story, but I'm telling you, so one, maybe you won't have to suffer so much to love your neighbor, love God, and appreciate what you have and tend to it and take care of it. It's really simple, right? One moment. Okay, so what's a Trojan horse? What do I mean when I say that? We've gone over this a few times, but I'm gonna try and give you both perspectives here. So maybe you'll better understand. I'm not mad at you. You just can't be on the bed where the computer's at. That's all. So a Trojan horse, well, So basically me, right? I was being groomed to be on this other side. I was always getting gifts. I went from being like not popular in school, like floating around from groups. I never was with any one clique, but I liked everyone else, just like it is today. I can tell you something about every one of those kids that tormented me at work. I can tell you something good about them and something that every single one of them taught me. They taught me how to work with dough, right? And I'm older than they are. And they taught me how to laugh again. And that's really super important. So even though they hate me, like I don't feel that way about them. I just don't. And so I've made it. I've accomplished what Jesus told me to do. I love my enemies. And what does that mean? Maybe it's time for me to transition. And is death real? There's the question. We're going to talk about that next video. So if I was being groomed, right, I went from being like mousy nobody to being like popular and like people liking me here, sort of. There are catches with that. I was never allowed to get too close with anyone. Anyone that would like help me or help me get a license, or like there was nobody like that. Friends were highly discouraged at first, but because I didn't listen, then people they liked were strongly pushed at me, or people that they already knew. Bina would be one of them probably. Wonder how she's doing. So imagine me being groomed for all that, right? And actually being almost a part of the hive mind because I've been around it so long. I literally had a deaf, dumb, and blind spirit for a while, I believe. That's what, like, oh, I didn't know what was going on. But also because I literally was kept stressed and busy. I was working all the time. And there's no better way to distract somebody than abusing them. Like, if you're verbally and spiritually and emotionally and financially abusing somebody, they're not going to notice much else of what you're doing when you're not around them, right? All I knew is I was free when I was at work and I didn't have to deal with that. But then I was worrying, what is he like with our children? I better give him whatever he wants and do whatever he wants. And that's how those relationship works. It's like a hostage thing for years and years. So if I was being groomed for that, right? But suddenly God yanks me and like he did and taps me, right? God taps me and calls me off the bench and says, hey, wake back up. Remember? I called you as mine when you were young. You were baptized in my church. It's time for you to wake up. So now I know all of these things that they didn't think I heard or knew. I didn't know I knew. There goes the ringing has been insane lately. I'm really on track with a lot of this, and a lot of it's happening really fast now. So the time of my ministry might be ending. I don't know. I don't know exactly when it started. Spring is looking rough though this year for all of us. If you are a true Jesus follower and you're not just in it for like, if you're not a deceiver, if you're not a wolf in sheep's clothing, it's going to be hard for you. So you better start disciplining yourself, and I've encouraged that for years on both channels. So I would be the Trojan horse of God in the enemy's camp, right? I am Rahab in Jericho. Remember when Rahab helped Joshua into the city, or hide from the soldiers when they needed to escape? Well, that's kind of what I am. So I'm a Trojan horse, right? That's why God only tells me certain things on a need-to-know basis. No, I don't hear his actual voice. It's a heart thing, right? And I do believe I talk to my guardian angel or whatever because we have a thing. You can call me crazy. It doesn't bother me. People have been called crazy for a millennium, and people still haven't caught on to it. Like, we haven't learned anything. Everyone we call crazy ends up being right about a whole lot of stuff. And then we end up ruining that person. Look at Kanye. Look at his life. Nobody would reach out a hand and help the dude and listen to him. He's like, I'm caught in some shit here. My kids are caught in some shit. I'm going to have to bow down just to see my kids if somebody don't help me out. Nobody would help him out. People aren't willing to put their necks out today. Like, that's why I really think this is tribulation, and like people like me are tribulation saints. And no, I'm not a saint, right? That's just what the book calls us. And it's very surreal realizing like you're in part of the script and you didn't know it, because it's just, you'll see what I mean real soon, because we're all going to be in it. Like, we all have a part. And it's bizarre when you see behind the curtain and you're like, is there real life, or is there movies? Or because movies aren't what they say they are either. Okay, so next is the Game of Thrones thing. So that has everything to do with this. So a Trojan horse on their side. This used to be used, like, let's say the Civil War. I cannot remember the names of the guys. It might be here when we read it. But back in the day, if they had to get a really important guy from one place to another, like a chessboard, right? You would have people dressed like pretending to be the king, right? With a special hat or a special sash or whatever, on horseback. And you'd have more than one of them in a couple different locations. That way the real king could escape. Okay, that's also a form or a type of a Trojan horse. So I want to take you briefly right here, because this is what's happening. Elon, or Musk, I hate calling him that, only a supremely arrogant, attention-seeking butthead would name themselves after the Most High God, because that's what his name means. He's calling himself God. And nobody else, like, no other Christian channel has said that. And I'm going to be real frank here. Why do I think it's the tribulation? Go to any Christian channel. See how many people are watching that, or are liking that video, or are subscribed to that channel. If Christ really is the way, and there is only a remnant at the end because of persecution and tribulation and whatever, does that match up? All these Christian channels, all those people subscribing, all these people saying they're Christians, there's only a remnant left, man. And I pray to God I am one, and I pray to God you're one. God's will is that all shall be saved, right? But when life is still happening and the play is still going, only a remnant will be left on the board. I don't mean only a remnant will be saved, because I'm not God. That's not my job. But I mean in this, on the board game, on this realm, like on this side of the veil. So the myth of the Trojan horse is one of the most enduring stories from Greek mythology, encapsulating themes of strategy, deception, and the complexities of warfare. This tale illustrates how cunning can sometimes triumph over brute strength, like a woman can sometimes triumph over a man. So all you people, like, I don't know, man. I'm just so disappointed. Like, this is a lot easier than I thought it would be. People are being so deceived so quickly. And I blame, like, cable TV and hip hop. It's just bad. And now it's not enough that they ruined hip hop, because hip hop R&B used to be good. Now they've moved to country. Now they want to ruin country in Texas. And the Trojan horse symbolizes the use of deceptive tactics in warfare, which have been pivotal in determining the outcomes of many battles. Historical context of Trojan horse. It was immortalized in works like Homer's Iliad. This war is believed to have taken place around the 12th or 13th century BCE, although its historical accuracy is still debated among scholars. So the key players in the saga are the Greeks and the Trojans. The concept of deception and warfare, and again, we don't read the whole thing, we just kind of skim it. Deception and warfare refers to tactics designed to mislead and manipulate the enemy. This could involve feigned retreats, meaning fake, false, misinformation, TikTok anyone, and ambushes. The psychological impact of deception can be profound, causing confusion and mistrust among enemy forces. Let me segue just for a second before I forget. I just watched a movie. Sit down. You're not getting my spot. That's too bad. You're not getting my spot. Lay down. You're a goof. Um, called The Gorge on Prime. One part had really high-tech drones, and they did change shape. And what was interesting is these drones were specifically looking for certain hybrid DNA. I just thought that was interesting to note. I might do a short on it, but like that's all there is to say about it because we don't know really if that's happening or not. I don't even know if those videos are real, if that was just AI. I mean, who knows? And everybody goes, I know someone who knows someone, or I'm there. Like, no offense, but I don't know you people. I'm here to tell you my testimony. Hopefully, it will help some of you. But if you haven't learned anything yet, like you can't trust anybody. Yeah, you should love everybody, but there's enough. God doesn't tell us we have to. In fact, God says, trust no man. Trust no man. Don't trust anybody. Because people's greed leads them in this world oftentimes. Their lust for things and stuff. Anyways, the psychological impact of deception can be profound. Imagine that. Try waking up in your late 30s and realizing your life is like some giant, tragic, Shakespearean, dark, comedic, gothic horror tale. I don't know. All of the above. And I'm sure I'm not the only one going through this. There's gonna be people like me dealing with some stuff, and you need God's grace to cope. Like there is no other way. You've got to have God's grace in this time. There is no, because I know when they let me go, I know like she wanted to fight. And I don't know if people see it, or I'm not sure how that's working. If they're, because I don't like this, right? These React channels, they're using CCTV and stuff. Did those people consent to you making fun of them on that video? That's their face. If anyone owns it, it's them. None of this should be okay with us. Like, I'm not okay with it. And I'm not a criminal. And I love children, and I don't want people abusing them. At the same time, there are other ways to go about, I don't know. I'm not down with man not keeping certain things sacred. Like, they go off and do, and they know where to do it. I would swear, my husband hates heights. Hates them. I started noticing things were getting weird when my sister and her boyfriend came for a visit, because they're on that side too. They're on the side of darkness too. I knew my sister was since she was born. I'm pretty sure she's got mixed blood. We have different dads. She looks totally different than me. And her eyes change color and stuff. And she had to get shots when she was pregnant. I think she probably has Rh negative blood or whatever. But she's cruel, man. She's so mean. My spouse, who is afraid of heights, took our son up in one of those, I don't know what you call them, that go across the top of the park, like almost like a trolley in the sky. What the heck was it called in Pittsburgh where I grew up? But that's different. That had rails. So it wasn't an incline. Oh, I don't know what they're called. When you ski, it's called a ski lift. But this wasn't for skiing. It was across Cedar Point. But I bet you there's no cameras in those, because he's wicked afraid of heights, but he made our son go across the park in that with him. Women are highly underestimated. The things that we observe and pay attention to. Don't allow yourself to be manipulated and called stupid and an idiot. That is just them trying to undermine you when you're actually correct about something. There's no other reason they would do that. Even if somebody is an idiot, like the last thing I'm going to call them is an idiot, because they're not even going to realize they're being insulted, right? And that's the thing with all of this. That's great if you all feel like you've accomplished something and if you fooled people, but it's really not hard to fool people when you simply have more information than them and you hoard information. That doesn't make you better than them. That just makes you mean and cruel and wicked. And none of those things are productive, okay, or essential. I'm trying to use language they understand. So yeah, the psychological impact of deception can be profound, causing confusion and mistrust among enemy forces. That's the entire purpose of propaganda during World War II. They're doing the same thing right now. Again, Satan's plan never changes. It has not changed since the garden. Divide Adam and Eve and conquer. Where was Adam when Eve was with the serpent? That's all I want to know. Somebody tell me where he was. How much you want to bet he was with Lilith? That's where he was. That's where Lilith come in the picture. Well, not his first wife, but his whatever. I'm just saying he was somewhere. And that's his Satan, that's what he does. The use of false retreats by the Greeks in earlier battles and the Persian strategy of creating false impressions during their campaigns against the Greek city-states. So that's basically propaganda right there. Like saying you're winning if you're actually losing, or playing dead, playing possum, it's usually called, pretending you're weaker than you really are. Like anyone who watched Games of Thrones, Sansa was really good at that. She was really good at like conveying weakness, especially physically. And emotionally, but she was cunning. She was manipulative. And in this time, like, if you want to live, you have to be. But I love and value truth more these days. And I want to touch on something before I end this video, because we're going to go over this. I'm going to give you my brief thing on the Pope, and I'm going to end the video. I did do a video yesterday. I hit it. I'll open it back up once this one posts more. It's just because of how hidden the channel is and the videos are. When I see they're really stopping one, I shut it down myself and I release it later on. It's just what I do. I play with I try to play with the algorithm a little bit. Does it help? Probably not, obviously. Oh gosh, now I forget where I was going with that. Fiddlesticks. I'm sorry. Here we go. Okay, so this is when we get into, again, the Trojan horse. There's a few different ways you can look at this. I don't know if they misclassified it, but like I said, one of the ways is when you, like a red herring, when you dress one man up on the field as the king, but he's not actually the king. The king's dressed up as a peasant escaping, right? That could be like a red herring as well. But everything that they did in World War II, they're doing again right now. And I forgot what I was going to go over before the Pope area. Darn it. It's always been a crucial element of military success. The Trojan horse was an enormous wooden structure designed to resemble a gift to the Trojans, much like our Statue of Liberty came from France over here. Gee, I wonder if that's how we kind of... That makes me wonder about some things now. Because you have French people in Canada. You've got the Creole people down south. Now I've read that, like, maybe the French were more prevalent than I wasn't taught that in school, though. That's not what I was taught. It's weird. Okay. The horse was hollow, and it was filled with elite Greek soldiers hidden from view, allowing them to infiltrate the city of Troy. So now that's what they've done with Musk, you see. They've got him beside Trump all the time. And Trump never explains, like, what's he doing at this Dateline? Did you see the bromance video I shared? Why is he in that interview? And he comes right out. And that's how you know, like, they're trying to control the narrative, or they're doing damage control, right? They're trying to get in front of, like, a freight train of damage that could head their way. So they came right out and to pretend to be transparent. You see, the media is trying to separate you guys already. Why would they try to separate you guys? Why are they trying to do that? First of all, where's Vance? Okay, no, he's allegedly somewhere else. Something is going to happen before spring, or right about there, as to where Elon will say, well, I've got to take the reins. I've got to finish the work we started with Doge. The whole head injury and the Antichrist thing, though, did it actually play out? I don't. Again, I'm still having a problem peeling back that last layer because the people we see on the screen are proxies. Those aren't the real people. Elon, if you look at his old pictures, that's old AI, right? Because you can tell there's only like one image of him, and he's in front of like a computer. There's like a computer monitor next to him, and it's cut off right here, and he's got like a thinning hairline, and then down here it's like a different face thing. So he's not real. Like he's not a. I don't even know how to say this. I think that again, these beings are very good at astral projection. I think they use our human bodies for that. But apparently, there's some type of synthetic thing out there too that they're using. Do I actually know the Antichrist? Again, my husband insisted on naming our second son after a Roman emperor. And now that son has named his son after Rome itself. And he was born on 6/6/24. 2 + 4 is 6. And how's this for you? This cat avoids confrontation so much. My original husband, or the one I was with, or whatever, avoids confrontation so much, or hates me. I'm such a terrible person that the spirit of the Antichrist jumped into another body just to avoid me. That's what they want me to believe, that my husband is in my son's body. Or that they want me to believe that. Either way, I'm dealing with wicked people. If it's a stunt they're playing, it took a lot of effort. If it's legit, it's gross and takes a lot of effort. But how do you think that makes me feel, that this person, this individual who's going to be like the most evil person since you know who, and maybe ever, like wanted to get away from me so badly? Because that was said yesterday. They messed up again, and they mess up all the time with the way they eat and the things they say. You cannot fool a mom, man, about her children especially. But I said something about helping me with Jackson's body, and I said, I've done everything else. Just be a man. You're here, do this for me, whatever. And he said he said, I said, even our son, and I said son because he knows what I think. I said, even our son said that you guys should man up, that I shouldn't have to deal with this. And he said, oh yeah, did he? Well, at least I'm the one here. He ran off and got away. And I'm like, that's a really strange thing to say about a son. You were just telling me a few weeks ago that sons move out, that's what they do. But again, my son had a 5-year plan. All of this was like, and my spouse promised me that. He said, if I'm ever with somebody else and I want to hurt you that bad, I will be in the bed with them. Like, you will see that happen. And my son knew that I was going back to church again and stuff. And I knew how I felt because I told him. But he started having his girlfriend stay over here in the bedroom with him. And I'm like, I don't like that. Da, 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 da. They're not listening to me. They don't listen to me. And my husband is changing her guitar's strings at work. And now, again, she works with my actual husband, or I don't know. And my son works with lithium batteries. And I had a feeling like that he had created a couple apps, and I can't tell you why. Again, God, my intuition, like just everything was heightened. Whatever happened back in 2017, they weren't the only ones that it did something to. Because I started hearing God again after years of not being able to like have that connection. It was just back like in full force, loud and clear. So yeah, I'm doing a lot of reassessing and soul searching, and I really don't want to be around people, but at the same time, I think now is when we should gather. I think if you're going to protest anything, you should protest the whole system and walk away from it. And I know people don't want to hear that. Well, I got my car and I got my bills and my kids in college. Like we've like literally, this is the end. We have to let that stuff go. Have we not seen enough bad movies of like iRobot and all this stuff? And I'll tell you another thing. I think they knew of the second incursion. I think it was probably around 1953. And they knew women my age were going to be paired with these things. And you know, the book of Enoch says that the women that are with these things end up abominations. So, yes, I've been chaste for a long time now, since I seriously started considering that perhaps that is not my husband. Because in scripture, what does it say? It says that the angels gave up their first estate and took the wives of their choosing. It doesn't say they got married. It doesn't say they courted young girls and got married and took wives. They took women who were already married from their husbands. And because they can change their form, I mean, listen, they got to get through the firmaments, sometimes a couple of them. So they got to be able to change shape. Something about that they can't do anymore, though, because they can't get back through. Why do I do this? It's for you and for my children, especially, to be obedient. Just show my love for humanity and mankind. Man, I just so badly want to get to the peace and harmony bit. Like, that's all me. I've never even seen more than my tri-state area. I want to see the Grand Canyon. I want to see these great things that look like they're not actually mountains, but look like they're old buildings. Like, I want to see that myself and know it's real. I honestly don't think that's a lot to ask. And I think we should be asking our Native American Indian friends, our elders, how to live better. This stuff that Elon's saying, it sounds good. I know because I'm with the brains behind that or whatever. They're all the same. They're legion. They all think the same. They talk the same. They say the same things. They don't insult the same people. They do insult the same people. Like, it's just it's how they are. There's a verse that says, they have a form of godliness, but deny the power thereof. That's it. He tells you he believes in some of the values that Christians follow, but not all of them. Why? Because they don't think they need a savior. They think they're good on their own. And I mean, I get it from being on that other side, but these guys are worse than that. Like, they're actively against God. They actively hate us. They know what to say to manipulate us. And I told you, for whatever reason, I seem to be linked up with God or something, and I set trends too. And every idea I've ever had, he ends up using, and I'm sure he makes money off of it. Like, I just end up seeing like that stuff on TV or in videos or what have you. And it's not like every now and again, like most people, like it's all the time. And like Truman, they ask me about products, like, what do you think of this? Da, 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 da. And then they run off and start typing, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And how come before you'll even speak to me or whatever, it's like you've got to get an upload from your phone. And I don't mean that. Like, I know people are attached to their phones, but I mean, otherwise, this person is not attached to their phone. It's just when they're going to have like some type of interaction or they don't know how to respond to me. Somebody pointed that out to me, somebody that watched this channel. Again, I know there's people trying to help me and giving me clues, even though they're not supposed to. So thanks for that. So basically, what I'm telling you is that what you're going to see is Elon is the Trojan horse that the enemy has rode in on into America. He looks great. He's saying all the right things. He's like, yeah, he's like a hero. Trump's like the go get him guy. They're like, everybody's kind of forgotten about Vance. Again, Vance is a proxy. I worked with a gentleman that looked a lot like him, and another young man who had that first last name. And he was adopted. And then it was mixed adoptions. They were all from different races, different, whatever you want to call it, ethnicities. And one of their parents, I think, worked at like a prison. And they take our kids and they raise them to hate God and to hate mankind. And if they haven't been harmed, they will tell the child that something has happened to them over and over and over again until the child believes it. And I know because I just know. Okay, so I'm going to end this one talking about the Pope. And again, you don't have to believe a word of what I say. But first of all, I have reason to lie. Second of all, I have no reason to try and get clout. Actually, nobody would come on the internet and admit to some of the things that I've said. Nobody would say the things that I've said. I mean, again, if it was summer, I'd have a very hard time sitting still in this place because I'm ready to just go off and be alone and reassess my, because I still look back and I don't think I was that bad. I mean, I know I had things, right? But I worked all the time. Like, I just wasn't there. I just didn't know. And I didn't believe in evil. And that's the thing. Like, evil wants you to not believe in it. It wants you to think it doesn't exist. So, for years, I didn't go to church and I didn't notice. And then I put family pictures on the fridge sometimes just to make, I'm still trying to be a mom, trying to be a family. Not anymore, though. There was this picture for months on there. And it was his dad on the porch swing next to his dad's sister, his dad and his aunt. And I love his aunt. She's just cute as button. I always loved her. We'd always smoke together. She was great. The only normal person in the whole family, seriously. And she really resembles a senator. It's funny how and his cousin looks a lot like Tulsi Gabbard, and she was in the military. So again, these people aren't going to tell you where they really live. Like when they say, oh, the governor's house was egged on, New Year's Eve or whatever. You're never going to know where these people actually live. They're not going to tell you. I wouldn't either. They probably actually live underground already. They live with a lot of fear. And that's why they don't tell anyone their real names. And that's why they do a lot of the name changing, because they're afraid of witchcraft and other witches binding them with that. And I know that because I've had that fear before when I wasn't covered under Christ. So I didn't notice for years. I did not attend church, but my father-in-law greatly resembles the Pope. Now you're going to say, Jen, you think somebody you know looks like everybody. That's just it. Northeast Ohio is bizarre now. I used to leave all the time. I used to go back and forth to PA almost every weekend for spurts. He used to not mind driving me. We used to go out to Erie just to have a bite to eat. I've not left this town in 6 years. 6 years. Probably. I haven't been to the mall down the road in 3, which, I mean, it's a mall. Okay, so I haven't been to the local Walmart, which is, I liked out there, but 2 years, maybe 3 years. This is just me talking to God. I don't have cable. I don't do any of that. There have always been military around me. When I was younger, somebody visited the house in a suit and tie, older guy, talking to my mom. And she said, and I was nosy. I knew there was something wrong with my mom, and I knew she kept secrets. And I kind of got to feeling like she was afraid of me. I get that feeling with a lot of the women in my family. They were scared of me. And then it started with the medicine every day. And I know that's to dull your shine. Anyone who's watched Dr. Sleep or The Shining knows what I mean there. That's why they want you doped up, is to dull your shine. And that's why they want you fornicating, and like that's why. They don't want your heart operating as the ear that it should be. That's why it has ear in the word. I don't know how to approach this. So I've always had military around me. And when I was younger, about 17, there was this guy there, and I was kind of watching because I knew my mom was up to something. And I always, like, I had this fear that she was going to kill me. Like, that this mom that came back, that she was going to kill me. Before that, she was completely different. She was so sweet. Like, I loved my mom to pieces. And I still love her. Like, don't get me wrong. She's deceased now, allegedly. Go back in the videos if you don't know what I mean there. So he came, and my mom said, Jenny, come sign this paper. And I said, what is it? And she said, just sign it. Be a good girl. And I said, I don't want to sign it unless I know what it is. I remember they were trying to pressure me into getting at school, too. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. It didn't matter how old I was. Like, they made me eat a lot of dial soap because I said no all the time. And I completely forgot how to say no. I just didn't say it for years. I think that might have been why my mom left me there. They thought I was too unruly or something. And I said I didn't want to sign it, and she said it's life insurance. It's the responsible thing to do, so I signed it. I was like 17. Anyone that rushes you through something, it's not good. Don't say yes to whatever question or decision it is. That's wickedness trying to trap you and snare you. I'll give you another example. I was working on the phones. I was a SME, a subject matter expert at a call center. Love that job. So much fun. I learned so much. That's where I learned a lot about cell phone technology. And again, the basics never change. Oh, well, stuff has changed since then. There's nothing new under the sun. Okay? And there's like multiple ways to do the same thing on computers. So when I was working there, again, this was really quick. The military came one day. Didn't know why. I was on a call. Had no clue. So they started coming to get us like bay by bay. At least that's what I saw. Again, I was busy working. I was on a call. So then they came to me and take me to this room. And they're like, hey, we need you to sign this paper and authorize blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what is this? And they're like, it's an NDA. And I'm like, what does that mean? And they're like, it means you can't tell anybody this. And I'm like, oh, okay. And they're like, but do I have a choice? Well, not if you want to keep your job. And I was like, oh. And so again, they're like, boom, 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 boom. Like, you've got to do this right now, right now, right now if you want to work. And I have 2 kids. So I'm like, okay, I'll sign it. I'm wondering if I kept just signing my own, like, slavery being used by, like, the military. How they talk about that chronovisor for the Pope, I feel like that's what I am. Like, they've always used my intuition, my link up with God. But the joke's going to be on them real soon. And no, I'm not going to harm anybody. I don't do that. Like, I couldn't even. Anyways, I wouldn't do harm like that. So my father-in-law looks strikingly a lot like the Pope when he doesn't have a beard. Because you ever notice how the Pope changes? Sometimes he's really fat, sometimes he's thinner. Because they've forgotten which one they're supposed to be showing you. He's not going to come out of this hospital. Why? Go back in my videos. I explain it all. He's not going to come out. He's been gone a long time. The real Pope's been gone a long time. But this guy playing the Pope, he's been gone too for a while. So here it is. Game of Thrones for the Earth realm, or at least the realm that we are aware of, right? The Queen, the Pope, the President of the United States, of the leader of the free world, China and Russia. Those 5 leaders. There might be a couple more, right? Because how many horns are? We'll have to do like a Bible study one night. If anyone's down for it, comment in the comments and let me know. But the Pope, right? The Queen, the president of the free world, China and Russia. Now, China and Russia, you can count them as already a pair. Why? Because they're both communist nations. Although if I had to choose, I'd choose Russia to go to or like be under as opposed to China. And that's only because I think Putin's a strong, hot leader. He's kind of hot. But seriously, I think that would align, like it'd be easier for me as a person, not because of anything like I dislike about China. I just think I would learn the language and all that easier, and the food would be easier to adjust if I had a choice. But anyway, those two are together. There's a Catholic prophecy, by the way, and I'll try and like tag this or whatever. You need to go look at those. Revelation makes a lot more sense if you look at it. Please don't be offended. With the original Catholic Church as being the remnant. And it makes a lot more sense now why we're seeing what we're seeing, that we're in tribulation. Because I think the Pope would have been the restrainer. I think. I could be wrong about that. The original Pope, I think, might have been the restrainer. Because if you think about it, everybody's insulting him, right? And everybody's insulting the Queen. But the whole time they were on the earth, it was normal still-ish. Like, we had evil, but it wasn't lawlessness. It wasn't like it is now, okay? But that's the goal. If you're going to take over the world, you've got to get rid of the Pope. Pope holds a lot of sway. Back in the day, the Pope, led the world. Like, what Rome did, everybody did, okay? And there was no separation of church and state. That didn't happen. It still doesn't happen. It's a lie. It doesn't occur. Anyways, you'd have to get him either on board or he has to go. The Queen, you got to get her on board or she's got to go. When the person who is the Antichrist, the actual physical body, that individual, that personality, with that soul, when that person agreed to be the Antichrist, when he consented, or she, when it consented to do this, that was the first job of Satan and Legion and his minions. Boom, 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 boom. Take down the Pope. Take down the Queen. And you don't really have to worry about Russia and China because they're already communist nations. They're not God-filled, spirit-filled people. Christianity, people who follow Christ, even Muslims, people who have a strong faith system, don't mix with the Roman political system. And that's what they're trying to reinstitute now, is the Roman Political Institute. That's what he named his baby. Or he would, again, I don't even know if they have a child because he plays video games all the time. How do you got a child if you play video games all the time? How does Elon do all this stuff he does? Well, because number one, space ain't real. But he's got all these people thinking, I don't know. So the Pope, he's not going to come out of the hospital. If you go back and look at a couple of my last videos, that's going to be why. Because they know the jig is up. They got to say something. They got to do something. He's going to be no more. Are they going to have a new Pope? No, they will not have a new Pope. Why? Because of synodality. They're going to flip upside down. This is giving me chills. And the hierarchy will be in reverse. It will be led by the laity. And there will be no head of the church. They're essentially cutting off the head of the church, and they're trying to get rid of Christ in the church, because the Pope is the symbolic representation of Christ, and he is the placeholder till Christ comes back. But that's what we all are, like as little Christians. That's what we're supposed to be. Some of this I'm getting as I'm talking. You don't have to believe me, but I've got the goosey pimples, and yes, I've repented of my tattoos. There's a reason I keep my arms covered these days. If you can't tell, I'm pretty ashamed of my part in all of this. And if I could fix it, I would. My young men, and again, I'm still holding out hope that maybe there was a spiritual rapture and that these aren't actually our children running around doing these things, because it's Village of the Damned out here. It's the young ones bullying the older ones, and Elon groomed all the children. Like, whoever's playing the part of Elon groomed all the children. So it's just bad. It's so bad. So the Pope won't come out. He won't come out of there. He's not alive anyway, but there's not going to be a head. It's going to be flipped upside down. When that happens, when that actually occurs, when they make that known, right? Because here's the thing. They're not going to tell you when prophecy is occurring. They will do whatever they can to hide it. They don't want this day to come, right? They'll do whatever they can to change the seasons and the time and extend their time here on earth. How they think they're going to fool the Most High, that's what still baffles me. Like Russ Dizdar and the Black Awakening, like they think they're going to win. I don't know why they think that. I don't like that. It bothers me that they think that. I feel like they have more information, and I don't like that either. Like, tactically speaking, from a war standpoint, I don't like that at all. I bet you my husband thought I really was not a chess player. There's a reason I never finished a game with him. Very rarely did I. I'm not as stupid as you thought I was. I never was. I just really loved you, and I believed in your potential. But again, I'm still holding out hope that these are just legion and they're just tormenting me. So that I think that, right? And that the spirits of mine are actually gone already. I'll get into secret rapture in 1 second. Let me write it down so I don't forget. I've got to do videos like this. Unfortunately, because the uploads aren't seen all the time, lives get more play. And when I'm doing something like this, and I'll get stuff like as I'm talking to you sometimes then. And I don't mean psychically or channeling. I don't do that. I believe it's from God, man. This is what he asked me to do. He asked me to witness. So that's what I do. Now I just forgot. Okay, so the Pope is not going to come out of that. They will not have a replacement for him. They will not show you on TV or whatever when prophecy is occurring. They will do anything they can to hide it. So I'm going to tell you there's a Catholic prophecy about the conversion of Russia. I think we're in the process of that happening. I can't say for certain. It may have already happened. But they're not supposed to stay communist when that happens. So some of us might look out there. I don't want to speak too far in ahead there because I don't got a lot on that. What was the other thing? Do I want to talk about that right now? I don't know. I watched that movie, The Gorge, and they mentioned this poem in it. And you can read a summary about it or cliff notes about it, but I want to read the actual poem. And you can think whatever you want to think. Allegedly, it was written right after World War I, and it's about the space in between life and death, allegedly, but about how nasty war is. But it's a little more supernatural than that, I think, and it even reminds me of scarecrows, because scarecrows weren't happy, funny characters once upon a time. They were scary. They were supposed to be scary. So this is from The Hollow Men, or this is called The Hollow Men. And it really suits a lot of the things that are happening now. And again, something is going to happen. If I am actually one of the witnesses, I think the person playing J.D. Vance might already be off the board. If we're talking Game of Thrones, number one. Number two, we have a lot of red herrings, meaning we have a lot of people pretending they're in charge right now so that the real guy is protected. And that's exactly why you would raise the AC in a place like Ohio, because nothing crazy is he's not gonna risk his life there, right? Like nothing is gonna happen there that's gonna be uncontrollable, so to speak. I don't know how to better explain that. And yes, it is hard to hold on to a thought sometimes because there is a lot coming up in between March and May. And spring is going to be rough for some of us. So considering Game of Thrones, we got the Queen gone. The Pope is gone. He's been gone, but they're going to announce it. They're not going to have a choice. And they're not going to replace him. Something is going to happen. And I don't know what or to who, but it's like somebody's going to slide right in there. And he already did. Like, he's already in the White House. But that's not really who is there. That's not really Elon. Okay, so this is called the Hollow Men. And again, I try to bring a little culture back to people, make people think. The last couple of generations, we've never faced war. Going through what I went through with my dog, he got to the point where he was so stiff and so skinny. And then he had that sore, that hole in the side of his face for the last 2 days. It was like I was dealing with roadkill. And I looked at him and I was just like, how am I ever going to deal with real war when it comes here if I'm still here? What am I going to do? How am I going to face that if I can't deal with one dog? But for me, I was bearing the remnant. I was watching the last remnants of my family die. And that's what made me think of remnants. And he died on Valentine's Day. And again, he likes to come over and taunt me then. And he came over the day before, or 2 days before Valentine's Day, and told me, well, you shouldn't have to deal with it. This is something for the men of the house. Something wicked this way is coming. Are you ready? Please be ready. I hope my videos help somebody out there. But I've been saying it for a while. I think I have a Pope playlist. We are the hollow men. We are the stuffed men leaning together, headpiece filled with straw. Alas, our dried voices, when we whisper together, are quiet and meaningless as wind in dry grass or rat's feet over broken glass in our dry cellar. That reminds me of scarecrows, if they actually were walking down the street. Shape without form, shade without color, paralyzed force, gesture without motion. Those who have crossed with direct eyes to death's other kingdom, remember us, if at all, not at lost, violent souls, but only as the hollow men. 2. Eyes I dare not meet in dreams, in death's dream kingdom, these do not appear. There are the eyes, are our sunlight on a broken column. There is a tree swinging, and voices are in the winds singing, more distant and more solemn than a fading star. Let me be no nearer in death's dream kingdom. Let me also wear such deliberate disguises, rat's coat, crow's skin, cross staves in a field, behaving as the wind behaves, no nearer, not that final meeting in the twilight kingdom. 3. This is the dead land, this is the cactus land. Here the stone images are raised, here they receive the supplication of a dead man's hand, under the twinkle of a fading star. Is it like this in death's other kingdom, waking alone at the hour when we are, trembling with tenderness, lips that would kiss, form prayers to broken stone? That reminds me of headstones. 4. The eyes are not here, there are no eyes here, in this valley of dying stars, in this hollow valley, this broken jaw of our lost kingdoms, in this last meeting, in this last of meeting places, we grope together and avoid speech, gathered on this beach of the tumid river. Sightless, unless the eyes reappear as the perpetual star. Multifolate rose of death's twilight kingdom, the hope only of empty men. 5. Here we go round the prickly pear, prickly pear, prickly pear. Here we go round the prickly pear at 5 o'clock in the morning. So it's here we go round the prickly pear, the prickly pear, the prickly pear. Here we go round the prickly pear at 5 o'clock in the morning. Between the idea and the reality, between the motion and the act, falls the shadow. For thine is the kingdom, between the conception and the creation, between the emotion and the response, falls the shadow. Life is very long, between the desire and the spasm, between the potency and the existence, between the essence and the descent, falls the shadow. For thine is the kingdom, for thine is life, for thine is this is the way the world ends, this is the way the world ends, this is the way the world ends, not with a bang, but with a whimper. I don't know, man. Everybody's out there celebrating. I wouldn't be celebrating. I'm not saying Trump's the AC. I'm not saying that. But he surrounds himself with some pretty shady cats. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I'm a little discombobulated right now. I have faced a lot of change the last several years and a lot of what I consider to be tragic circumstance. Not even like I know people have it worse than me. I'm not saying that. As a person, as an individual, personally, it's been a challenging time for me. I don't know how to plan for the future anymore. I don't know if there is one for me. I don't know if there is one for us here. I hate to say that. But we're so blind. We've seen movies like I, Robot. We've written the books. We've read them. We've made videos about them. If you want to make a difference and you want to protest something, and you've got some discipline and guts about yourself, protest the whole system. Walk away from the whole beast system. All of it. Don't work, don't do none of that stuff. How do you do it? Food grows on trees, man. And there are people everywhere that need handyman, handy women, doing this, doing that. You be a nomad. I mean, I'd pair up with somebody, but I really don't trust anybody anymore. That might be a road I have to walk alone if I get to walk it at all. I hope I do. But if you want to protest something, that's what you protest. The whole system itself, because it's wicked. And I know how people feel. I mean, it's obvious. I get one thumbs up, like 20 views in like 20 hours. Nobody wants to hear it. Are you going to want to hear it after the fact? It's better if you give some of the stuff up now than have it taken from you. Trust me, I know, because I've had a lot taken from me, and I've given a lot up voluntarily because I was warned by God what was coming. He told me a while ago, give up the meat. Don't eat it. Carnivorous. What other word can you make from carnivorous? If you play that game where you jumble up the words. Coronavirus.